Fight Mike here. Today we're going to be discussing the newest UFC fight announcements that Dana released for UFC 320 and UFC 321 earlier. Some really good fights I'm sure everyone's pretty excited for. Before I jump in and break down the fights, can I just say that Dana White has never looked so uninterested in releasing a fight until this announcement? Like, at least for the last ones before, he'll be like, we've got some baller-ass fights on Fight Fans. We've got Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev. He gets super interested in it, super into it. Not as much as he used to, but at least we see some level of, excitement from Dana. This time, it was actually nothing. I didn't see a glint in his eyes, and it was a bit disappointed. We're talking about some massive fights, and he's literally, he's just sitting there like he's just recovering from a night out, just saying, oh, we've got Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira too. And it's just like, man, have some sort of oomph to your voice, have some sort of excitement for it. He was talking about the same sentence where UFC 320, he was talking about Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. He's talking about the fight week. He gets more excited talking about, we've got Power Slap 4 in that week. He's going all red-faced. You see the neck veins coming out. Power Slap 4 is on this week. And then we've got UFC BJJ 2 headlined by Andrew Tackett. And it's like, dog, carry the same energy towards the end of the sentence for the event that you're literally putting out there. You're putting out this announcement for UFC 320. So you better have the same sort of oomph to your voice. You better have the same sort of excitement for UFC 320, because otherwise it just looks like you're putting out the side project to Power Slap. And it's just a bad look. Power Slap is only a thing because the UFC succeeded. So that's got to be not the main focal point of your announcement. Your main announcement on the UFC's page shouldn't be Canelo versus Crawford. It should be, we've got, what's up, Fight Fans? We've got some amazing announcements here. Old school, oiled up, red-faced Dana needs to come back with these announcements. But before I continue this rant for another 35 minutes, as I'm sure you've seen before, let's jump in with the main event of UFC 320 that he released. It was Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira. We all knew this fight was going to be going down around this time. I thought it was going to be at the Abu Dhabi main event, but it makes sense to put this fight in the US. Pereira is a massive star in the US. Magomed needs to capture some more of the US audience, and he definitely can if he has a good performance over Alex Pereira. If I was to make an early prediction on this, though, I'm picking Magomed to win by TKO or decision. When the UFC 313 card was announced, I was always picking Magomed by decision for their first fight. And for the Pereira fans, what are you picking that's going to be different about this fight? Seriously, let me know in the comment section below. Because I see people talking about, oh, Alex Pereira is going to throw more punches out. He's going to be less over-reliant on the leg kicks. But realistically, how do you expect him to do that? If you remember watching their first fight, Alex Pereira was easily the slower fighter of the two. You'll see Magomed is speed-mogging him in the boxing the entire time. And if you see that, he took all the leg kicks, took him really well as well. It wasn't like the Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev, where he was really hurting from those leg kicks. And there's a very good reason for that. Jan Blachowicz, he's a savage. He'll just go shin to shin with you. And you could see that was the ones that was actually hurting Magomed Ankalaev. Whereas Alex Pereira is going for these outside leg kicks with his lead leg sort of flicking them out there. And it just wasn't really hurting Magomed throughout their fight. I think that you need to go shin to shin with Magomed. And I think that Jan Blachowicz is just the Polish power type guy that's just built different. He's got the different shins that he can get checked now and then, and he's not going to be swayed by it. And I think that Alex Pereira might actually not be that type of guy. I see it being the exact same fight. I think stylistically, Magomed is always going to be a difficult fight for Pereira on the feet. Historically, Pereira's always struggled with southpaws, especially when they're around his size. And if you think of Magomed's style, he's very conservative. He's very defensively sound. He's very hard to hit. And if you think about the southpaws that Pereira is able to have some success over, like a Khalil Roundtree, Khalil's a lot shorter than Magomed. And if you think of a Jamal Hill, another southpaw, he completely lacks defense. Every punch he throws, his other hand's at his waist. Magomed never does that. He's very defensively sound. He makes sure his hands are always up. He doesn't come into range with a hook when he's at elbow range. He never does that. His range weapons are really nice. And he actually keeps range really well. Being the same size as Pereira, he kind of needs to do that. He keeps his range with the teeps, the jabs, the straights. And he's so much faster than Pereira. If you watch that fight again, the biggest difference between the two is that for every punch that Magomed's throwing, it's always a straight punch, and Pereira's trying to respond back with a cheeky left hook that was always missing because Magomed's able to come in with his feet much faster. And Pereira, although he's technically better than Magomed's so speedy and athletic, and that kind of trumps the technically better part of Alex Pereira. And the thing is that the difference between Alex Pereira at middleweight to light heavyweight is that middleweight you'd see against Sean Strickland, he's bouncing around on the outside, or you see against Israel Adesanya that Alex Pereira is bouncing around again, he's moving really quickly. At light heavyweight, he's become a lot more ploddy. We see this with guys that hold a little bit more weight when they come back up in weight, that their footwork slows down completely. And I think that Magomed has sort of always been like that fast, nifty guy at the light heavyweight division. And he's only been getting faster. And I think he's going to continue to speed Mag Pereira, especially in the footwork part of the striking. And even just the takedown defense of Pereira, he's sort of shown to have that Jose Aldo takedown defense where he's difficult to get down. But once you get him against the cage, it's very easy to stick there. And I think that Magomed, he's going to know that although Pereira's got really good takedown defense, that he can hold him against that cage. And I think that Pereira's going to be too overconfident in his takedown defense, and he'll get takedown a little bit easier in this fight. And I think that Pereira will get shot on earlier because Ankalaev was still trying to gain fans by saying he wasn't going to shoot at all with Pereira. And he sort of didn't shoot as much as he could. I think he's going to shoot straight away into this fight. So I think it's going to be a decision win for Magomed Ankalaev. I could even see a late rounds TKO. Moving on to the next fight, though, we've got the co-main event of UFC 320. We've got Morav Dvalishvili versus Corey Sandhagen. I'm super glad that this fight's on the card. Morav's been fighting super regularly. He fought at UFC 311 against Umar. He fought against Sean O'Malley at UFC 316 and now 320. 3 fights this year. He'll be gunning for the fighter of the year if he can get that. But the thing is that I've seen a lot of interviews from Morav, and he definitely wanted to fight in MSG, which is in November. And now he's fighting in October, but very early in October. And I think that with this matchup, I'm really tossing over it. I thought that Morav, after his last fight, that I was going to be picking him against anyone. But the more I think about his fights, I think it's closer than people think. I think people talk about beating Morav and how you have to separate him from his consciousness. But I think that you have to beat Morav by decision. It was sort of like the Bilal Muhammad situation when he was coming up. Everyone was saying that you don't beat Bilal by decision. You have to get him out of there in round 1. You have to KO him. But I think like Bilal, I think eventually Morav's going to lose by decision. I think if you push for the finish, you gas yourself out against Morav. And if we're looking at Morav's fights as if you don't look at the fight inside the fight, you just see scorecards. You see a lot of close fights. You see a 48-47 against Umar. You see a 48-47 in the first fight against O'Malley. You see a 29-28 against Cejudo or 29-28 against Aldo. Where all of these opponents, there are a couple of exchanges from winning the fight. And it's sort of just a matter of time before one of these opponents do land a good exchange and do win a round that Morav was trying to win back. If you remember the Umar Nurmagomedov fights, he likely lost the first 2 rounds of that one. And let's say in that 3rd round, if he was trying to win that round back, but then in the last 30 seconds, there was a big knee that landed. It doesn't even have to drop him. He loses that round. Like, it's such a very easy loss for him. Like, He's very close to losing these rounds, and he's just able to inch past them. And one time, he's just not going to do that. As he gets older, as well, his otherworldly gas tank is going to decrease. His entries are going to get slower on the takedowns. But the real question is that time now? Sandhagen's not really deserving of a title opportunity. And we've seen him come up short against guys like Umar or Petr Yan. But each time he comes up short, he's able to make good adjustments, go on multiple fight winning streaks, and maybe he's able to do that this time. But I'm going to have to do a lot more research on this fight. Early prediction, I am probably picking Morav, but I could see myself switching at last moment for a Sandhagen pick, so stay tuned for that. Moving on to the feature fight, though, for the UFC 320 card, we've got Hiri Prohaska versus Khalil Roundtree. This is an absolute fireworks matchup. I thought that this wasn't going to be made as soon because Khalil had a torn meniscus going into his last fight, but obviously he was able to get that one fixed recently. But you just know both of these guys are going to take their heads off. I'm going to be picking Hiri for this fight. I think Ciryl had a fantastic performance over Jamal, but I was more impressed with Yuri's performance over Jamal. And let me tell you why. I think Ciryl really broke down Jamal and worked his way from his legs to the head in that fight. And the way that Jamal fights, he sort of matches whatever pace and whatever style you fight. It's really weird. If you watch the Ciryl fights, he was just doing leg kick for the leg kick in that first round. Or against Pereira, it was very slow again, leg kick to leg kick. Or if you watch the Yuri fight, where he just joined in on a war that Yuri started, he sort of just mirror matches whatever you're able to do against him. And in a fight against Ciryl and Yuri, Ciryl will try to pick apart Yuri like he did against Jamal at range with the leg kicks. He's going to try and execute that very similar game plan. And in Yuri's fight with Jamal, he was in a war, and Jamal was happy to oblige with the war, but he got finished in that. Whereas Ciryl wasn't able to finish Jamal with their tit-for-tat battle only a couple of months after fighting Yuri. I just don't think that Yuri's going to play that tit-for-tat style that Jamal Hill let him play. He'll play the game of sprinting forward, slipping and eating shots to deliver his own. Although I could see Ciryl randomly catching him at some point in the fight, I think Yuri's newfound head movement, not moving into punches anymore, is going to pose some threat to Ciryl. I think off the back foot, we saw in the Pereira fight that Khalil's not nearly as good. He doesn't move backwards that quickly. And Prohaska, if there's something that we've learnt about him, is that he doesn't like to take a back step. So whoever wins this fight, I think, is whoever is going to be either more successful on the front foot, who's going to win the collision, or whoever's going to sort of let the other guy move them back. And I think that in every one of those situations, I think Ciryl is more likely to get caught by Yuri. I think Yuri is more likely to sort of outwork Ciryl and start pushing him backwards. And I think that Ciryl is more likely to break to Yuri's pressure than the other way around. We've seen Yuri take massive leg kicks from Rakic and come down the second round. We've seen him get dropped by leg kicks from Rakic and still come back and finish him in the second round. So I think he actually won't give Ciryl the time to make some setups, and he'll finish Ciryl in the second or third rounds. Moving on to the main event of UFC 321, though, I'm not going to talk about this one that much. Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. We all knew this fight was going to be going down. It was even basically announced by Tom Aspinall. He said that he wanted to fight in October. I have such a sour feeling thinking that Cyryl's going to play spoiler against Tom, but I am going to be picking Tom by a first-round submission. We all know how fast Aspinall is, but I think that Ciryl is just as fast, and he's got a very good chin, so it is a slightly worrying matchup. But realistically, Aspinall takes his career much more seriously. He's going to be much faster than Ciryl Gane. He's going to be faster than Gane. I think he's going to be around the same speed as Gane, and I just think it's going to be all the advantages are going to play towards Tom Aspinall in this fight. But I could just so see it being a win for Ciryl. I could see him catching Tom Aspinall coming in. And I really pray we don't see that. If we have to hear John Jones drunkenly tweeting about how he finished Ciryl and how he's the lineal heavyweight champion or how he's the best heavyweight on the world still, I'm going to rip my hair out. So I'm praying that Tom Aspinall can win this one. I'm praying he can bring it back for the boys. But I do think he'll win this one by first round submission. I honestly think it would have been a little bit more hype, though, to get like a Jailton Almeida, someone who stylistically is very difficult for Tom Aspinall. But I don't hate it. I think that they needed to just get the ball rolling in the heavyweight division. There was no matchup that everyone was going to be happy with, so I'm happy that they've at least got the ball rolling. Let me know what you think of these fights in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe as always, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.